The Wisdom of Solomon and the Two Mothers. In the quiet kingdom of Israel, where the sun rose over golden hills and the songs of shepherds echoed through the valleys, King Solomon sat on his majestic throne. Though young in age, he was known far and wide for his extraordinary wisdom. The people came from every corner of the land with their disputes, hoping this young king could help them find justice. One morning, as the dew still clung to the earth and the palace halls glistened with light, two women were escorted before the king. Their faces were drawn with fatigue, their clothes worn from sleepless nights, and in their arms, they each held a single hope-won living child. The courtroom was hushed. Nobles and guards stood still, scribes lifted their pens, and all eyes were on the two mothers who approached the throne. One woman clutched the baby closely to her chest. Her eyes were wide with grief and desperation. The other woman stood tall, her voice already trembling with rage. "O king," the first woman cried out, "this woman and I live in the same house. We each gave birth to a son. But on the third night, her child died. In the middle of the night while I slept, she came and took my living son and placed her dead child beside me. When I awoke in the morning to feed my baby, I found he was lifeless. But when I looked closer, I knew this was not my son." The second woman's voice rose in protest. "No, the living boy is mine. Her child is the one who died." Back and forth they argued, each mother claiming the living child was hers, each refusing to surrender. The courtiers exchanged uneasy glances. There were no witnesses, no way to prove the truth. The child was too young to speak. And still the mothers pleaded, each clinging to their story. Solomon sat still. His gaze moved from one woman to the other, reading not just their words, but their hearts. Then, with a calmness that silenced the room, he spoke. "Bring me a sword," he said. Gasps filled the courtroom. Even the scribes paused mid-sentence. "A sword, your majesty?" asked a servant, his hands shaking. "Yes," said the king. "If we cannot determine whose child this is, we will divide him, half to one and half to the other." The servant hesitated, but obeyed. The sword gleamed as it was brought forward, catching the light of the morning sun. The mothers stood frozen. The room was paralyzed. Then, in a voice drenched with anguish, the first woman fell to her knees. "Please, my lord, give her the child. Do not kill him. Let him live even if he is not mine." The second woman stood firm. "He shall be neither hers nor mine. Go ahead, divide him." Solomon rose slowly from his throne. The weight of his words hovered like thunder in the air. He turned to the guards. "Do not harm the child. Give him to the first woman. She is his true mother. Only a mother would sacrifice everything to save her child's life." A wave of awe swept through the courtroom. The scribes recorded every word. The guards stepped back. The first woman wept with relief, embracing her son as if the whole world had been returned to her arms. The second woman turned away, her deception revealed in full daylight. Word of Solomon's judgment spread like fire across the land. Farmers whispered it in their fields. Traders spoke of it in the market. Even neighboring kings sent letters of respect. And from that day forward, the people of Israel knew with certainty Solomon's wisdom was a gift from God. If you've ever faced a situation where the truth was difficult to see, remember this moment in history. Sometimes, the greatest wisdom is not in knowledge alone, but in understanding the heart. And if you're enjoying this story, feel free to follow for more biblical tales filled with drama, sacrifice, and insight. Years passed, but the story of the two mothers remained alive in the hearts of the people. It was told and retold by parents to children, by teachers to students, each time with new details, new emotion. For in it lived more than just a dispute, it held the very essence of justice. In a nearby village, a little boy named Eli listened to the tale as told by his grandfather. They sat beneath an olive tree, the breeze rustling its silvery leaves, "Why did Solomon ask for a sword, Grandpa?" Eli asked, his brow furrowed. "To reveal the truth," his grandfather replied. He knew the real mother would never allow harm to come to her child. But couldn't he tell just by looking at them? The old man chuckled. "Wisdom doesn't always come from what you see. It comes from knowing how love behaves." That night, as the stars shone above, Eli dreamed of kings and mothers and swords that never struck. He saw himself one day standing in a court of his own, making decisions that saved lives, not divided them. Inspired by Solomon, he vowed to listen not just to words but to silence, to sacrifice, and to love. Meanwhile, in the royal court, Solomon continued to judge. He heard disputes over land, theft, broken promises, and even strange riddles brought from distant lands. Yet none touched the people's hearts like the case of the two mothers. Some whispered that the child grew up strong and wise, much like the king who saved him. Others believed the mother devoted her life to raising him with humility and truth. And though their names were never recorded, their legacy lived etched in scrolls, sung in poems, painted in tapestries. Even today, the phrase "the wisdom of Solomon" echoes in places of law and leadership. And in your own life, when faced with a difficult decision, pause and ask, what would I do if love, not pride, were my guide? The story reminds us that justice is not always about winning. Sometimes justice is about letting go. For the greater good, true strength is often found not in power, but in sacrifice. If this story moved you, share it with someone who values truth and compassion. Let them know that the heart always reveals what the mouth may try to hide. As the moon rose above Jerusalem, Solomon knelt in prayer. His court had quieted, the people had gone home, but his mind remained full. He thanked God not just for wisdom, but for the discernment to see what eyes could not. He prayed for his people that they would learn to seek peace, to walk in truth, and to love deeply. And somewhere in the city, a mother held her child close, whispering blessings into his hair. She didn't care if the world knew her name. She had her son. She had justice. That was enough.